The night air was thick with tension as Isabella stood in the grand hall of the Montrose estate, her heart pounding in her chest. The once familiar room, adorned with ornate tapestries and gilded mirrors, now felt like a prison, its opulence a stark contrast to the turmoil within her.
Countess Eleanor sat regally on a velvet chair, her gaze cold and unyielding. Lord Blackwell stood beside her, his lips curled into a sinister smile. His presence was suffocating, a dark shadow looming over Isabella's fate. She had uncovered his secret, a web of deceit and corruption that threatened to destroy not just her, but everything her family held dear. Luca waited outside, hidden in the shadows of the estate's sprawling gardens, ready to whisk Isabella away to a life of freedom and love. But she knew the price of that freedom, the downfall of her family, the very people who had shaped her life, for better or worse. Isabella, Countess Eleanor's voice cut through the silence like a blade. You will marry Lord Blackwell. This is not a request. It is your duty. Isabella took a deep breath, steeling herself. Mother, she began, her voice trembling but resolute, I know the truth about Lord Blackwell. He's not the man you think he is. He's been using our family, manipulating us for his own gain. If I marry him, it will ruin us. Lord Blackwell's smile faltered, his eyes narrowing dangerously. You speak of things you do not understand, Isabella. Your place is beside me, securing your family's future. My place is not beside a man who deceives and destroys, Isabella shot back, her fear giving way to fury. I refuse to be a pawn in your games. Countess Eleanor's eyes flashed with anger. You will do as you're told, Isabella. You have a responsibility to this family. Isabella felt the weight of her mother's words, the crushing burden of expectation that had followed her all her life. But as she looked into Lord Blackwell's eyes, she saw only darkness, a future where she would be trapped, suffocated by a marriage built on lies. Countess Eleanor's eyes flashed with anger. You will do as you're told, Isabella. You have a responsibility to this family. Isabella felt the weight of her mother's words, the crushing burden of expectation that had followed her all her life. But as she looked into Lord Blackwell's eyes, she saw only darkness, a future where she would be trapped, suffocated by a marriage built on lies. Isabella, Luca's voice echoed in her mind, a beacon of hope amidst the chaos. He was her light, her chance at a life filled with love and honesty. But to choose him meant betraying everything she had ever known. She turned back to her mother, tears welling in her eyes. I love you, Mother. I love this family. But I cannot marry a man who will destroy us. I have to follow my heart. Before Countess Eleanor could respond, Isabella turned and ran from the hall, her footsteps echoing through the empty corridors of the estate. She burst through the grand doors, the cool night air washing over her like a wave of freedom. Luca was waiting, his face illuminated by the soft glow of the moon. His eyes widened in relief as he saw her, and without a word, he took her hand, leading her towards the shadows of the garden, away from the life she was leaving behind. Isabella, are you sure about this? Luca asked, his voice laced with concern. She looked up at him, her heart swelling with love. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Let's leave this place, Luca. Let's build a life together, free from the shadows of the past. As they fled into the night, the Montrose estate loomed behind them, its grandeur fading into the distance. They didn't know what the future held, but they knew they would face it together. Back in the grand hall, Countess Eleanor sat in stunned silence, her world crumbling around her. Lord Blackwell's face twisted into a mask of rage as he realized his carefully laid plans were unraveling.
The Montrose family, once the pinnacle of power and prestige, was now on the brink of scandal and ruin. But for Isabella and Luca, it was the beginning of a new chapter, a life where love, not duty, would guide their path. Months later, a letter arrived at the Montrose estate. It was from Isabella, written with a trembling hand but filled with hope. She and Luca had settled in a distant town, far from the shadows that had once threatened to consume them. They were happy, living a simple life, their love stronger than ever. The letter ended with a single line, "The shadows no longer hold us, for we have found our light." As the Countess read the words, a tear slipped down her cheek. She had lost her daughter, but in that loss, she found a glimmer of understanding. Perhaps, in the end, Isabella had made the right choice. And in that distant town, as Isabella and Luca walked hand in hand through the sunlit streets, they knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, free from the shadows of the past.